Hello everyone, today I'm going to teach you how to play Void. In this video, I'll show you everything you need to know to master Void, his abilities, essential combos, the best builds, and key tips to dominate with his unique playstyle. Let's start with the ability you'll be using most, Void's left click, Gravity Orb. By default, it fires a projectile that deals a good amount of damage and slows enemies by 10% for 1.5 seconds. But if you wait a moment between shots, your next one becomes charged. Charged shots deal more damage, travel faster, pass through walls, and still apply the slow. Void's RMB and his "you don't get to play" button snap. This ability fires a single target projectile that stuns based on distance. The farther it travels, the longer it stuns. The stun lasts between 0.75 seconds and 1.75 seconds, depending on how far it goes. Void Shift Swap is the most interesting ability in this kit. When you press Shift, Void throws out an orb. After 1.7 seconds, he teleports to it, swapping himself and any nearby entities with whatever's around where the orb lands. Enemies hit by the swap are slowed by 40% for 4 seconds. You can teleport onto walls, and I cannot understate how useful this is. You almost always want to teleport onto walls. Just try to jump right before the teleport finishes so you don't get stuck on top of the wall. The swap also preserves momentum, so if you were moving fast or jumping before the teleport or mainsling, that speed carries over. An important detail is also that if the orb hits wall or terrain, it'll trigger the swap early, so you teleport a bit earlier. While the orb is going up, it can't hit anything, but once the orb starts falling down, it can hit things. And yes, you can use it to swap things like wisps, death boxes, heck, you can even swap Celestials. If you use swap in Abyss, Void will hover in the air for 1.5 seconds before the teleport, locking you in whatever momentum you had already. Gliding, however, cancels the other. A note also is that Void Swap is faster than the time it takes for you to die to Abyss, so you can throw it, jump in Abyss, and be just fine. Now for Void's E, Unstable Anomaly. This ability lets you place a bomb at a target location that slowly grows over 6.5 seconds. While it's growing, you can reactivate the ability at any time to detonate it. When it explodes, it deals damage, and that damage increases the longer you let it charge, up to 3.5 times the original amount. On top of that, the bomb grounds enemies for 0.5 seconds when triggered. Grounding is a status effect that stops momentum-based movement, so it cancels dashes and prevents enemies from dashing, jumping, or maintaining at all. Even if the ultimate is a dash, they'll be locked out of it while being grounded. Now for Void's ultimate, Singularity. This is a very high risk, high reward kind of ability. There's a 1 second task time in which you are rooted and cannot move, but after that, you place down a black hole that stays on the ground for 3.5 seconds. While it's on the ground, any person inside it will be stunned and will be pulled towards the center of it. A note is also that you hover in Abyss when using it.
It's better if you stay.
Now for Void's passive, Hands of Fate. Hands of Fate makes Void empowered after he's been fighting for a little while. It makes his RMB do a little bit more damage, it makes his shift faster, it makes his E grow in size more quickly and become larger, and it makes his ultimate just larger. Because Void floats, he's also immune to the water slow and does not take damage from water hazards. Alright, and it's time for some Void combos. So in Void's base kit, all you really need to know is that you can RMB, ultimate, and you place down E, and that is your full combo. But Void also buys relics, and thus he has relic combos. Grabby the Squid has 3 combos that Void can use. First off, he can put down his puddle, he can shift into it, and grab onto an enemy in order to kidnap them into the puddle and into his team potentially. The only thing you want to be careful about with this combo is that you do not by accident Grabby too late, so that you instead end up getting a ton of momentum and flying towards the enemy after you TP backwards. Because that is also the second Void combo. You can shift backwards, and you can grab onto something in order to fly very quickly towards it. Whee! Now the third Void combo with Grabby is very very simple, and it is just that you grab onto the enemy, your RMB, and then you can ult into your full combo or whatever. So Rumel's Hoverwings, not much of a combo, but essentially, normally I'll be slowed when I RMB, but if you use Rumel's Hoverwings, I don't get slowed or anything, I just glide towards them, and I can just use RMB freely. Alright, and now Battlegum, you place it on an enemy, you place it on a wall, your ultimate, and you pull them into it. That's it. There are also some combos with fans. For example, you can jump into a fan, shift, and you can fly across to kidnap somebody that's over on this ledge. You can also teleport in between two fans and then jump to get a lot of mobility and fly far. Void has a surprising amount of variety in the things he can build. Grabby the Squid is the only item that's really mandatory on Void, and even then you can play without Grabby the Squid, you just have a lot less mobility. Personally, I prefer Grabby the Squid and Rumel's Hoverwings to have a ton of mobility both in disengage and engage, and to set up these fun combos versus enemies. For grips, I like doing Lundclaw and Power Gauntlet. Lundclaw gives you 20% range, and Power Gauntlet gives you 11% damage on your left clicks. This means that you can poke more effectively through walls, and you can hit enemies more easily as you're running away. And Void already has very slow left clicks, so when you give them this increased range, you're increasing your range by a lot more when you're running away from an enemy. And Power Gauntlet just gives you a lot more damage all the time. If you land an ultimate, you're gonna be left clicking into it like 5 or 6 times. So you get just 11% more damage on all of those left clicks. It's very good. For the boots, I run Phase Striders, and they give you 15% dash haste, which just helps him. I mean, his dash is really good when you have it on low cooldown. You also shift mats, always. There is no reason to do RMB mats when you do not get any ability power from the move speed. There is also not really any reason to level up E-mats, because it doesn't do enough damage to kill the people you want to kill with it, and you can only really use it to kill people in your ultimate. So shift mats and getting a 300 shield every 5-6 seconds is really good. Void loves playing around walls. If you have a wall here, and there's an enemy on this side, and Void is over here, well, Void can just shoot for the wall. He can just LMB, he can place down his puddle, he can do whatever he wants. Void absolutely wins like 99% of matchups if there's just a wall in between you and the enemy. You don't have to do anything more than just put an enemy through a wall. This is already massive. You're destroying their armor, you're dealing damage to them, you're forcing them to use heal pods. That's really good. Right. Then if you do not have a wall, or if you don't have any wall to poke for at least, but you just have like a giant wall up here, then instead you can say, okay, well, I know at the very least, if this enemy decides to push me, that I'm going to be safe, because I can teleport up on this wall, and my teleport will be like half the time to cast, and then when I'm on top of the wall, the enemy won't be able to hit me. This is a very neat trick for playing Void. You are essentially unkillable on walls. There is like 4 or 5 abilities that can hit you on walls, and it's like Ghost Laser, Ghost Ult, Kinpin Hood, Strike Ult, and that's pretty much it outside of another Void, because Void can also hit you on walls. Right, but what if you are playing and you do not have any walls at all? Well, you are Lonely Void here, you don't have any walls, and there's an enemy here. Well, first off, you want to play range. You have a fairly long range on Void, so if you can just hit your LMB, ward backwards at the same time, then the enemy here, if they want to attack you and they have like, I don't know, this range here, they have to step really far forwards in order to be able to hit you. And if they ward forwards, they're warding into where your left click is going to hit, because Void's left click is really slow, which means that it moves like further, quote unquote further, if you move backwards. Like the distance, the time it travels makes it like hit more enemies if they're walking towards you, essentially. And the thing is on Void, if the enemy decides that they've had enough of getting put out and not really being able to do anything, they will then try to push you. But if they try to push you, all you have to do is land your RMB before they actually like get to do anything to you. And if you manage to land your RMB, well, now you ult, and now you got a free kill. Don't be afraid to use your ultimate on somebody that is stunned. It is always better to guarantee the kill than it is not to. There are some situations where you won't be able to get the ultimate out, but generally, the best idea is to just ult immediately. Right, Fate, but how do I play Void in Abyss? Well, playing Void in Abyss is actually really simple, because Void has hover. Let's say this is you here, and you're fighting an enemy that's trying to chase you over here. Well, they're gonna fall down eventually, if they don't glide, but Void can start channeling his hover here, in this second, and as soon as he starts channeling this hover, he is not dying, because he cannot die to Abyss while channeling hover. Like, he doesn't need to glide or anything, he's hovering, he's just gonna stay in the exact same spot in Abyss while moving slightly. So he's gonna move slightly this way, but he's gonna stay at the same elevation, while this enemy will slowly fall down and will have to glide eventually. As soon as you will teleport here, and now, well, you're all the way back up at the ground height. And this doesn't matter if you teleport into Abyss or if you teleport into ground, you're still gonna teleport at ground height. So now you're gonna be up here, while the enemy is gonna be like down here. And now, even if you just did nothing, like even if you just fell down and kept falling down, you would still win this, because you just need to LMB this enemy, and they're gonna be lower than you. But Void also has a stun, and if you just stun this enemy here, then they die. They are low enough that even like a half distance stun is going to kill them. And if you hit a full distance stun on an enemy that's all the way up, it will also kill them. In this way, Void is actually one of the best characters to play in Abyss. If you're really desperate, and let's say another enemy came in after you killed this one enemy here, you also have your ultimate, which you can put down to hover for an additional second in the air. And this way, not only do you cut off a potential route your enemy could dash into you with, but you also stay in the air long enough that this enemy may have fallen down, or may have to figure something else out in order to actually get away and not get into this ultimate. In this way, you can buy yourself so much time and so much space in the air. But let me show you some actual gameplay. This first fight is a good example of how to escape on Void. I have a bad fight, I try to shift away, I did butt, unfortunately, and then I shift up on the wall and I glide around the edge of the wall in order to get away. Then, as soon as I shift up, I shift and I start healing. And then I do the same thing here in a second, where I shift and I start healing, because I don't lose any time by doing it. And I got out. Then second, this fight, I teleport up in the wall, and I just glide over the wall in order to cut off an RMB here. Here's a good example of how to play Void in Abyss. First off, I just get in the middle of Abyss. I try to play around the windwinds to get my fuel back. And then I'm like, I think I have to push, so I push onto this island, but Deva just puts ults on me and I have to go out. Now I go upwards a bit, the Luna tries to push me, I RMB and stun her. I dash away. I Hoverwings away, and then I shift again in order to give me even more time, almost spiking the bishop there with my LMB. I tried to drop to this island thinking that there'd be nobody there, but of course there's a Tetra there, last alive on our team. I managed to shift away just in time, the Tetra follows me, and I managed to land a long range LMB on her as I got dunked by a Jhin. I think this is a good example of how to play Void in Abyss, because even though I died, I still managed to get 2 kills, and I managed to live in a situation where most characters would probably have been dead. Alright, and that's it for this void diet. Please leave a comment if there's anything you want me to change or anything you liked about the diet, any feedback at all, it would be very much appreciated. If you really like my content and if you'd like to see more, you can also subscribe and yeah, see you around.